This video is sponsored by Blinkist. Use the link in the description below to start your 7-day free trial, plus get 40% off the premium membership price for the month of February only. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Plain Bagel. I'm your host, Richard Coffin. We are back once again with another movie review, this time for the famous Wall Street film, Wall Street. This is an older film, it's from 1987, but it's very much viewed as a classic. Stars Charlie Sheen as our protagonist, Bud Fox, but the much more memorable character in this film is Gordon Gekko, played by Michael Douglas, who brings us a number of quotable quotes throughout the film, including the very famous, "Greed, for lack of a better word, is good."
Greed is right. Greed works.
And it's a really good movie. It holds up very well in my opinion. It's about a very famous investor, Gordon Gekko, taking in Bud Fox as a sort of apprentice, showing him how he makes all this crazy money from Wall Street by breaking the rules, sort of cheating the system. And interestingly enough, it's a movie that allegedly convinced a lot of people to become stockbrokers, which is kind of concerning based on what the movie is really about. But needless to say, an influential movie in the finance space, but one that comes with a lot of lingo. It really dives into the finance atmosphere, and so there's a lot of jargon, a lot of very fast talking trades and stuff like that. So it's very easy for the layman to get lost in what's going on. So my hope is today there's a lot of that. I can't go through all of it, but I'll try to cover the big details, explain, the big plot points and exactly what's happening, what characters mean when they say certain, lingo and stuff like that. And hopefully it will help people better understand the movie. So without further ado, let's hop into it. Our movie kicks off in 1985 at the finance firm Jackson Steinem, where our protagonist, Bud Fox, works as a broker. A broker, as you might know, is someone who buys and sells investments for different clients. And because this is the 80s, where before a lot of this was automated and digitized, you can see that as they get orders to buy and sell different investments, they actually have to call traders who are located at the New York Stock Exchange trading floor to find the other party for these trades. And in the scene, you can see that a lot of these people are acting more like salesmen than advisors. They are, cold calling people, trying to get them to take advantage of opportunities. And the reason for that is that these brokers make money off of trading commissions. Whenever a client puts in a buy or sell order, the broker gets a cut of that trade. So they don't necessarily care if the client makes money on the buy or sell. They just care that the client is buying or selling. It's also in the scene where we meet Lou Manum, who is very much the voice of reason throughout the film, who's trying to guide Bud Fox on the right path, an idealist in the world of investing. I like him. He's a good guy. A lot of quotable quotes from that character as well.
The main thing about money, Bud, it makes you do things you don't want to do.
And the scene ends as a very bad day for Bud Fox. Not only does he have a client DK on his trade, which means didn't know, it's actually a mechanism for getting out of a trade if you weren't fully informed on the details. And he also fails again trying to get a hold of Gordon Gekko, a famous corporate raider that he's been calling every day, trying to beg as a client. Now, a corporate raider, if you aren't familiar, just refers to a large investor who's able to go around and buy significant portions of publicly traded stocks, and then often takes actions that goes against the wishes of management and possibly other shareholders to increase the dividend, liquidate assets, or even shut down the entire company, all for the sake of, getting more money out of the company for themselves. Raider is very much a fitting image. It's someone going into a company and sort of ransacking it for a profit. Now, the next scene, Bud Fox meets up with his father for dinner, talks about the crummy days had at work. It's during the scene where Bud's father, who is a union representative for Blue Star Airlines, a publicly traded stock, where he tells Bud that his company is about to receive a favorable ruling from the FAA regarding a past crash. And that's going to be really good for the company because it's going to remove them from suspension. And it's what's considered insider information, which a lot of the movie revolves around using insider information to trade, which is very much illegal. Insider information is anything that can't be found by a public investor researching a company, and it's illegal to trade off material insider information. So material meaning that it matters, that it will impact the value of the firm once that information is eventually released or if it is released. There are a lot of rules to try and prevent insider trading and to promote fairness in the markets. Executives have a lot of restrictions around trading their own stock and have to publicly disclose the stocks that they're buying and selling. And for Bud as a registered broker, the proper thing to do in this situation, according to some guidelines, would be to first try to convince his father to disclose this information publicly so that it becomes public information. And if that's not possible, to then blacklist yourself with your employer from dealing with this company, to basically disclose to your employer, I've come across insider information for this stock, so I will not be dealing in this stock. That's the right way to go about it. But he doesn't do that, and the next day, Bud's luck turns around as he manages to score a meeting with Gordon Gekko, because it's his birthday and he buys him some fancy cigars to get his attention. Now, this is one of the very fast-paced scenes because throughout this whole meeting, Gordon Gekko's trying to organize a hostile takeover of Taldar Papers. Hostile just meaning that he's trying to buy this company without the blessing of the company's management. And there's a lot of lingo that comes up that makes it really difficult to follow. Gordon Gekko talks about wanting negative control over Taldar.
I'm looking for negative control, okay? No more than 35%.
Which just means owning enough of the company that no significant corporate action can occur without his own blessing. And at the end of the scene, he talks about submitting a tender offer at 13D.
Start the lawyers and a tender offer to 13D.
13D is just an SEC filing that has to do with takeovers. And a tender offer is when someone who's trying to take over a company, trying to buy a significant portion of that firm, simply puts out that he will buy stock of the company at a price higher than the market price. So if a stock is currently trading at $25, Gordon Gekko might go out and say, hey, I will buy your shares at $28 or even $30 if you sell them directly to me, with the idea being that they can quickly get people to sell them their stock and they can accumulate a bunch of the company. Anyway, while all this is happening, Bud Fox is trying to impress Gordon Gekko. It's not really working.
Come on, pal. Tell me something I don't know. It's my birthday.
Until he shares this insider tip about Blue Star Airlines, saying that they're about to get this favorable ruling that it should help the stock jump, and Gordon Gekko says that he'll consider it. But Bud Fox leaves, not really sure if he's convinced Gordon Gekko, and when he heads back to the office, he actually puts in an order for Taldar Papers, which is the company that Gordon Gekko was talking about buying the whole time. And interestingly, this is also considered insider information, or more specifically, front-running a trade. Knowing about an upcoming big transaction like this that, again, is not publicly known, trading off of that information is also very much illegal. But Bud does get a call from Gordon Gekko, who decides to put in an order with Blue Star Airlines, telling him to order at 15 1/8, 3/8 tops. As for why stocks are quoted throughout the movie in fractions, it's actually how stocks used to be quoted publicly before 2001, with the lowest denomination actually being 1/16 of a dollar, or 6.25 cents. I wasn't quite sure why that was ever the case, so I looked it up. Apparently it's because the New York Stock Exchange is based off the Spanish Stock Exchange, which used to use fractions. And as for why they did it, I don't know. But obviously now we have a decimal system where the lowest denomination is 1 cent, unless you're dealing with penny stocks, which actually have lower denominations. And that just ends up being rounded out when buying and selling a bunch of the stocks. Anyway, a lot of explanations for what's really just the beginning of this film, but that is how Gordon Gekko and Bud Fox meet. And after the trade works out with Blue Star Airlines, Gekko rewards Bud with a bunch of different perks, including a fancy meal, a bunch of more money to invest on his behalf, and perks.
Hi, Bud.
And Bud tries to invest Gekko's money honestly, but after losing him some money, Gekko basically tells Bud that, listen,
If you're not inside, you are outside, okay?
blatantly telling Bud that he wants him to get him insider information so that he can make money with these big trades. And Bud, who's worried about losing his perks, agrees, agreeing to spy on Gordon Gekko's nemesis, Lawrence Wildman, or Sir Lawrence Wildman, my apologies. Following Sir Wildman around, Bud finds out that he's looking to acquire a publicly traded stock, Anacott Steel, and Gekko, who's looking to front-run this trade and make a bunch of money while also costing Wildman dearly, gives Bud this really intricate instruction about buying Anacott Steel before Sir Wildman can.
Okay. When the market opens tomorrow, I want you to buy 1,500 July 50 calls.
So let's take a moment to quickly break down what exactly Gordon Gekko is telling Bud Fox to do in this situation. He starts off by saying buy 1,500 July 50 calls. A call option, as you might be aware, is a derivative investment that gives you the right to buy a stock at a predetermined price, in this case 50, before a given expiration date, in this case some point in July. And the amount is typically 100 shares per call option. So at 1,500, that is 150,000 shares.
And start buying 1,000 share blocks and take it up to $50.
So at this point, he's telling Bud to put in orders for 1,000 shares at a time to push the price higher, because every buy order that goes in for this should push the price of the stock high if it's enough money.
When it reaches 50, give out a little taste to your friends.
So at this point, Bud actually goes to other brokers and convinces them that this is a good company that they should buy in as well. That obviously increases demand and pushes the stock price higher.
Then I want you to call the Wall Street Chronicle. You tell the man Blue Horseshoe loves Anacott Steel.
And finally, he tells him to call the Wall Street Chronicle and give this coded message, which from my understanding is him communicating to other traders looking to do, insider trading, that he has insider information about the stock and that it's in play. Obviously convincing them that they should buy in as well and pushing the price higher still. And all of it is very illegal. At this point, they're manufacturing demand for this stock and pumping it up. This is them definitely pumping the stock price higher. All obviously to Gordon Gekko's benefit, given that he is the first one to buy. So Gordon Gekko makes a killing off Endicott Steel, manages to embarrass Wildman in the process, which is, a bonus for him. And Bud solidifies his position as Gordon Gekko's right-hand man. And they continue to take the operation further, Bud even going so far as to buy a janitorial service at his friend's law firm so that he can access the files after hours within the office, obviously all containing insider information that the lawyers are kind of trying to keep under lock and key. And because there will be regulators looking for suspicious activities from brokers, Bud and Gekko start taking precautions to try and throw off the scent of their illegal activity. Bud is given POA over Gekko's accounts, which stands for power of attorney, used a lot in cases such as dementia, where someone doesn't have the capacity to make financial decisions for their own behalf, with the idea there being that it will add a degree of separation between Bud and Gekko, where if they are discovered, Gekko could argue that he had no knowledge of the trades, that it was all done under the POA. In addition to that, they start opening offshore accounts under fake names, basically fully laundering money at this point, as well as using what's called a straw buyer or a bunch of straw buyers, which just means that Bud gets his friends to buy and sell stocks under their own name, again, to not make it look like it's Gordon Gekko making these trades, and then giving his friends a kickback once the trade is done. So at this point, full-blown criminal operation, the two continue to make money by finding insider information and then using that to obviously profit with stocks. But then Bud gets inspired to go after a big deal, and we're kind of brought to the main plot point of the movie. Bud watches Gordon Gekko talk at a shareholder meeting to try and win over investors for Teldar Papers, which, if you recall, is the firm from the very beginning of the movie that Gordon Gekko is trying to take over. It's in the scene that Gekko says the line, "Greed is good," and Bud decides he wants to do something similar to what Gekko is doing with Teldar Papers, but with Blue Star Airlines. Again, the company that his dad works for that they originally did the insider trade on. He finds out that his dad's company is not doing well, and that's probably headed towards bankruptcy, so he figures that he might be able to turn it around. He has a lot of connections at the company given his dad's position, and he convinces Gekko that they should try to take over this company, get concessions from the union to temporarily cut their salaries to help save the business, and with that extra flexibility, turning the business around and something that he has confidence in part because this company has an overfunded pension of $75 million, meaning that they have basically $75 million of cash that they could access if they need to, which would help them get financing and give the business a bit of credibility. So solid plan, they're able to convince some of the union members, excluding Bud's own father, who has a big blow up with Bud over Gordon Gekko's intentions here. And everything's looking dandy until Bud stumbles into a meeting with a bunch of banks that are going to be financing this deal and learns some information that doesn't make him too happy with Gekko. The reason why banks are involved here is because this is a leveraged buyout. Gekko is going to borrow money so that he can afford to take over this company, with the idea being that he will make so much money turning it around that he can quickly pay off those loans. But during this meeting, Bud finds out that Gekko isn't planning on turning around the business, that he's just going to liquidate all the assets to quickly pay off that loan and take that $75 million of overfunded pension basically as a profit. Bud confronts Gekko about this. We get a nice inspiring speech about capitalism.
We make the rules, pal. The news, war, peace, famine, upheaval, the price of a paperclip. Now, you're not naive enough to think we're living in a democracy, are you, buddy?
And Bud decides that he's going to save Blue Star from Gekko and get his revenge. And the rest of the movie is Bud getting his revenge on Gekko. But again, it's another sort of fast-paced scene, a lot of stuff happening at once. So I'll quickly explain kind of step by step how exactly Bud causes Gekko to lose a bunch of money with Blue Star Airlines in the last sort of half hour of the film. Because Gekko is planning on taking over this company, he owns a bunch of Blue Star Airlines stock. I think it's around 12%. At the beginning of the movie, it was at $15 a share. Now it's at around $19 at the beginning of the scene. And because he still needs to buy more of the company before he can take it over, he obviously doesn't want the share price to rise any higher until he manages to buy what he needs to. So Bud decides he's going to pump the price of the stock up so that Gekko's forced to buy in at a higher price, and then he's going to try and cause the price to crash. And he does this by using the tricks I learned from Gekko himself with Endicott Steel. He spreads a word around his office, convincing other brokers to buy the stock themselves, even calls a few friends to get them to buy stocks for their portfolio funds. And then he calls Wall Street Chronicle using the same coded message as he did before, this time with Blue Star Airlines, to again get other traders interested in this company. So Gekko sees that the price is rising, figures that someone leaked the information about his upcoming deal, and tells Bud to buy as much as he can, up to $22, to try and sort of beat this trend. But when the stock reaches $22, Bud starts telling his friends to start selling to try and crash the price. And it's also at this point where the union representatives who are in on this plan go to Gecko's office and tell them that they no longer support his plan to take over the company and cut their salaries. So Gecko decides, you know what, screw this, I'm not buying the company anymore. He wants to sell everything he can. But because Bud has spread the word to traders that are now selling the stock, the price is falling down. And by the end of the day, it reaches around $16, $17, forcing Gecko to sell at a tremendous loss. And the kicker to this whole plan is that Bud has enlisted Sir Lawrence Wildman to be the White Knight of the deal. White Knight just refers to, in a situation with a hostile takeover, someone else who comes and basically offers a more attractive deal to the company, saves them from a hostile takeover, with Wildman having an agreement to not liquidate the firm and to try and turn it around. And with that, Bud gets his ultimate revenge, causes Gordon Gekko to lose a bunch of money at the hands of his rival, Sir Lawrence Wildman. And that's pretty much the end of the movie, except the film ends with Bud going to jail for insider trading. It's not clear if Gecko sold him out, but Bud goes to his office. Everyone's looking kind of suspicious, and Bud sees that the authorities are there to take him in. We don't know how long he ends up in jail. He does cut a deal to get some dirt on Gecko regarding his inside trading activity, but the movie quite literally ends with him walking into the courthouse. So yeah, crime pays until it doesn't, I guess is the moral of the story. So that's a movie. Hopefully I hope to explain some of the more confusing scenes that might not have made as much sense the first time through. And before I sign off, throughout the film, Gordon Gekko and Bud Fox keep quoting a book, The Art of War by Sun Tzu, which Gordon Gekko tells Bud early on that he needs to read.
Read Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Every battle is won before it's ever fought.
And now, thanks to today's sponsor, you too can get the key insights of The Art of War by Sun Tzu, because today's video is sponsored by Blinkist. Very proud of that segue. Blinkist is the audio app that lets you read or listen to the key insights from nonfiction books in typically under 15 minutes. And it does actually have The Art of War on there. I hadn't read the book before. It does actually sort of advocate for getting insider information, which don't recommend. Definitely don't put that back on me. But another key insight that doesn't have to do with illegal trading activity is the idea that speed is the essence of war, which the Blinkist actually connects to investing in business activity. The idea that when you see an opportunity, that speed matters. But if books about war are not your thing, they do have a bunch of other categories, including money and investments. They have a lot of great titles in that section. Personally, I want to become a better writer in 2023, so I like using them to cover books that I know I'm not going to get to otherwise, so I can help improve my own script writing for the channel. And whether you want to become a better communicator, manager, philosopher, there's something on the app for you. But best of all, Blinkist now has a feature called Blinkist Connect, where with the latest version of the app, you can actually share a premium membership between two different accounts. So you can share Blinks with friends, and basically you get two for the price of one. So an awesome new feature. And for the month of February only, you can get 40% off the premium membership price, plus 7 days free by using the link in the description below if you would like to try the service and you want to explore some nonfiction books. So thank you, Blinkist, for sponsoring this video, and thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please do make sure to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. It does help the channel tremendously. And yeah, until next time, don't do insider trading.